In the winter of 2020, in Fort Valley, Georgia, 23-year-old Anitra Gunn was a university senior, excited to graduate while juggling her studies and a part-time job. She was doing well in interviews and enjoying time with friends. However, on Valentine's Day, everything changed when her friends started receiving strange messages from Anitra's phone, followed by a sudden silence. Her worried father rushed from Atlanta, and a search team was quickly formed. The sheriff promised a thorough investigation to find Anitra and bring justice. Hi, I'm Kevin, and welcome to the show. Today, we're discussing a tragic murder case from Georgia that deeply impacted the local community. It's a story that serves as a warning for many who recognize similar signs. Let's dive in. In early 2020, Anitra Gunn, a 23-year-old Fort Valley State University senior, was preparing for graduation. Originally from Atlanta and a Westlake High School graduate, she moved to Fort Valley to study agriculture at VCU after her mother passed away. Her father, Christopher Gunn, raised her and her younger brother. Anitra was balancing full-time studies with a part-time job as a server at 1836 Restaurant and Lounge. Despite her busy schedule, she stayed close with her family and maintained an active social life. On the morning of February 14th, her best friend, Sierra Stewart, noticed unusual messages from Anitra. What started as friendly Valentine's Day wishes soon turned strange, with texts suggesting Anitra was planning to meet someone she called Dude. Anitra was only in one relationship, with U.S. Army Sergeant DeMarcus Little, who was known to be on and off. Sierra was concerned and didn't like DeMarcus, feeling the relationship was problematic. Sierra's worry grew when she heard from another friend, David Howard, known as Scoot, who had also received odd messages from Anitra. DeMarcus claimed he wasn't with Anitra anymore and had no idea where she was. Sierra contacted Christopher Gunn in Atlanta, who then headed to Fort Valley. The local police checked Anitra's home but found no one there, and her car was missing. The strange messages stopped after 8:30 a.m., with no responses from Anitra's phone. When Christopher arrived, he filed a missing persons report. A task force, including local police, Peach County Sheriff's Office, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, was set up. They found that Anitra's last known location was her boyfriend's aunt's house on Chestnut Hill Road, where she had stayed the night of February 13th. Since DeMarcus Little was the last person seen with Anitra, he quickly became a suspect in the eyes of the media and public. Authorities began searching the area, including using a helicopter to comb the woods, and worked to narrow down their investigation. The night before Anitra went missing, she attended a party with friends. When she left around 11 p.m., she went with her friend Tracy King, her sometimes boyfriend DeMarcus Little, and his friend Javen Abraham. They went to DeMarcus's home for a while, and after 2 a.m., Javen dropped Anitra and DeMarcus off at Anitra's house so she could get her car. Anitra and DeMarcus then went to a Waffle House before heading back to DeMarcus's aunt's house on Chestnut Hill Road to spend the night. DeMarcus later told police that he last saw Anitra leaving around 11:30 a.m. the next day. She had a job interview scheduled for 9:30 a.m., so if she left then, she would be very late. DeMarcus, who was an Army sergeant, was brought in for questioning, and his car, a black Toyota Corolla with red pinstripes, was towed for examination. DeMarcus had joined the Army in 2016 and had moved to Augusta in late 2019, where he worked as a supply specialist. He and Anitra had been in a relationship that initially seemed promising, but had become troubled. Investigators discovered Anitra's car, a white Chevy Cruze, a few blocks away. It had a missing front bumper and was covered in mud. Inside, they found Anitra's wallet and keys, but not her phone. DeMarcus's fingerprints were on the car, but this was expected since they were romantically involved. Unexpectedly, DeMarcus claimed he just remembered that Anitra had shared her phone's location with him the day before. He said her phone showed up near her house, but the actual location was further south on Carver Drive, where police found her phone hidden in a drainage pipe. A deputy found a disturbed path in the woods and discovered Anitra's body, poorly hidden among the trees. Nearby, they found car parts that matched Anitra's vehicle. An autopsy revealed that Anita had been strangled, hit in the head, and likely dragged to where she was found. A few days after her body was discovered, Demarcus Little was arrested but not yet charged with murder. 2 weeks before Anita was killed, someone damaged her property. On February 5th, Demarcus Little was charged for this. Anita and her friend Scoot were awakened by a loud noise one night. They initially thought it was one of the pets and ignored it. The following day, after the vandalism incident, Anita took the troubling step of reporting the damage to the police. She informed them that the tires on her car had been deliberately slashed, leaving her vehicle unusable. Additionally, she discovered that bricks had been hurled through 2 of the windows in her home, creating a significant mess and leaving her feeling vulnerable. Anita pointed out that this was not the first instance of such vandalism targeting her car. It was, in fact, the second time her tires had been damaged under similar circumstances. This repetition of malicious acts only compounded her distress and heightened her sense of insecurity. Anita struggled to understand who could have been responsible for these attacks. She expressed her frustration and concern, noting that the repeated damage to her car was not only a financial burden but also a clear violation of her personal safety. The fact that her tires had been slashed previously suggested a targeted effort to intimidate or harass her, leading her to feel increasingly anxious about her well-being and the potential threat that loomed over her daily life. In the face of these accusations, Demarcus's lawyer took a strong stance in his client's defense. The lawyer made a concerted effort to portray Demarcus as a fundamentally good person, emphasizing his role as a soldier who had consistently adhered to the law and maintained a clean record. He highlighted Demarcus's service and dedication to his country, presenting him as someone with a commendable background and a strong moral character. The lawyer's arguments aimed to counterbalance the negative perceptions and stress that Demarcus had no prior history of criminal behavior. Furthermore, the lawyer conveyed heartfelt sympathy for Anita's family, acknowledging the profound pain and suffering they were experiencing. He underscored that while the situation was undoubtedly tragic, Demarcus's clean criminal record and otherwise unblemished character were significant factors to consider. Despite the gravity of the situation, the lawyer maintained that Demarcus was a fundamentally good person who had never previously shown any inclination toward criminal activity. Demarcus later admitted to the police that he was responsible for damaging Anita's tires and throwing bricks at her house. His actions were driven by anger after discovering that Anita had another man staying over. Even though he confessed to these acts of vandalism, Demarcus continued to maintain his innocence regarding her murder. Despite the confession, he faced serious charges and was given a $10,000 bond, along with an ankle monitor, while awaiting further legal proceedings. Soon after, Demarcus's friend Javen Abraham was also taken into custody. Javen faced charges for providing false statements to the police and for concealing a death. His arrest followed closely after Demarcus's, further complicating the situation and drawing more attention to the case. During Demarcus's trial in March 2022, Javen Abraham played a critical role as a witness. His testimony was pivotal, as he provided details that implicated Demarcus in the case. The trial was marked by intense scrutiny, with Javen's statements adding to the evidence against Demarcus. In his defense, lawyer Benjamin Davis argued that Demarcus was not the kind of person who would commit murder. He emphasized Demarcus's background as a soldier, highlighting his service to the country and his clean record. Davis portrayed Demarcus as a fundamentally good person who had never been in trouble before. On the other hand, prosecutor Neil Halverson painted a different picture of Demarcus and Anita's relationship. Halverson described it as troubled and characterized by control and manipulation. He argued that the relationship's issues were central to understanding the motive behind the crimes.